think filing for bankruptcy means losing everything, your car, your house, your dignity, your precious belongings. Yeah, that's what most people think, but they're wrong. What if I told you filing Chapter 7 bankruptcy doesn't mean starting from zero, and you actually might be able to keep more than you think? So today I'm going to be breaking down one of the biggest misconceptions about bankruptcy and showing you how people just like you have filed without losing anything. You're about to learn about a key piece of the puzzle that nobody talks about, also known as bankruptcy exemptions. Think of them as your legal shield against financial doomsday. We're talking protection for your home, your car, and your personal essentials. If you're stressed about debt while equally terrified of losing everything, just take a breath and let's talk about what you actually get to keep. Now, before we dive into specifics, just as a heads up that these exemption numbers can change from time to time, so think of this video as a starting point for informational purpose, not kind of legal advice. So let's rip the band-aid off before we jump in. You do not need to have lived in Texas for a certain amount of time before you qualify for those exemptions. As a rule of thumb, there are both state exemptions and federal exemptions for bankruptcy, but here's the twist. In Texas, you get to choose between using Texas state exemptions or federal ones. You can't mix and match though, so it just depends on your specific situation. But that being said, in Texas, the homestead exemption is incredibly generous. You can protect unlimited amount of equity in your primary residence as long as it's on 10 acres or less in the city or up to 100 acres in the country. You can double that if you've got a family. You've also allowed to accept one vehicle per licensed household member, but just know that it has to fit within a personal property cap that we talked about next. You can exempt up to $50,000 worth of personal property if you're single, or $100,000 for families. That includes your vehicle, like I mentioned, furniture, heirlooms, clothes, food, jewelry, up to $12,500 for single or $25,000 for family, 2 firearms, farming gear, sports equipment, pets, even livestock, 12 cows to be exact. No, I am not kidding. Some additional good news is most tax-exempt retirement accounts like 401ks, IRAs, pensions, those are safe. And there's a federal limit of $1.7 million per person on IRAs and Roth IRAs. You've also got exemptions for life insurance benefits, child or spousal support, wages in most cases, Bibles, medical aids, and even college savings account. If it is not crystal clear by now, the last thing they're trying to do is leave you with nothing. And again, just a reminder that these exemption numbers can change from time to time, and to check out the legal documents for Texas for exact numbers, I'm going to include a link in the description below if you want to see specifics. But the bottom line, Texas has incredibly generous bankruptcy exemptions, especially if you've been a resident there for a while and own a home. However, the rules can be tricky, so if you're unsure how it applies for you, it's smart to speak with a bankruptcy attorney. If you're trying to figure out what bankruptcy would actually look like for you, we can connect you with a vetted bankruptcy attorney for a free consultation. Zero pressure, just real answers tailored to your situation. You can even check out a comparison of other debt relief options too, based on your actual numbers. Just check out the link in the description or scan the QR code on the screen to get started. Now, here's something a lot of people miss. If you've recently moved to a new state and you're thinking about filing bankruptcy, you might not qualify for the state's exemptions right away, and that's because of the 730-day rule and the 180-day rule. These rules ultimately decide which state's exemption laws apply to your case. So let's say you lived in Florida from January to August, then moved to Georgia mid-August, and then let's say it's January of the following year and you want to file for bankruptcy. Even though you live in Georgia now, you'd likely still have to use Florida's bankruptcy exemptions because you spent more time there during those 180 days prior to filing. But if for some reason it turns out you don't qualify for any state's rules based on those timeframes, you may not need to worry. You may still be able to use the federal bankruptcy exemptions instead. Now, here's one big thing. Not everyone qualifies for Chapter 7 bankruptcy. You have to pass what's called the bankruptcy means test, which compares your income and expenses to your state's limits. Now, if you're above the limit, you might not qualify, but that's not actually the end of the road. We built a totally free calculator that looks at your actual numbers and helps you figure out if you might qualify for Chapter 7 bankruptcy. It's private, easy to use, and doesn't even ask you for your email address unless you want to be contacted. You can also use it to connect with a local attorney if it makes sense for you. The link's in the description or scan the code on screen. And hey, even if you don't qualify for Chapter 7, you still have got options. There's Chapter 13 bankruptcy, debt consolidation loans, debt management, or even debt settlement programs. While there's no one-size-fits-all answer when it comes to debt relief, there's always a path forward. Now let's say you're grappling between whether Chapter 7 or Chapter 13 makes makes the most sense for you, or even just wanting to understand what the actual difference is, you can check out this next video where we break it all down step by step in detail. Having a better understanding of your options can be the turning point to resetting your financial future and getting out of debt for good.